Greetings, carnivores. This is Fuzzy D, and this is Fuzzy Road to Health. Today is September 12th, 2023, and this is a vlog of sorts. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my life and how things are going with my carnivore way of eating. So, as many of you know, if you've watched my previous videos, we just had a big move. It was a doozy. It definitely took some time. We got possession a few days before the end of the month. Got a bunch of stuff moved in, but not everything. We were saving all the big stuff for the big move day, where I had rented a big truck and everything. And I just want to give a shout out to my church family who stepped up and helped us do that big move with the truck. They were absolutely amazing. I kind of hurt my back on the previous days. I'd been lifting too much and carrying too much, without taking enough breaks. And by the time the big moving day came around, and we had to go pick up a couch, and by the time that was all done, my back was just absolutely done. So I had to kind of sit there and watch stuff get done instead of participating, which is not that easy for me to do. So like every instance when you're doing a fairly big move, there's always things that come up, things that go wrong. So I had some issues with my cheap desk, that big corner desk that I have my studio set up with. It was just something we got for free from the local newspaper when they went digital only, and they gave away, all their old stuff. So I got this desk and a couple other little things, and I didn't really know how it came apart or went together, and the people that helped move it in the first place weren't there to help take it apart. It didn't completely get taken apart properly, and plus I think there was some damage from the time before when we actually moved it in and set it up. So needless to say, when we finally got all the pieces here, there was a few things I needed to repair. So the built-in pin and cam system that holds it all together, IKEA kind of stuff, most of those pins had ripped out or broken out, so I had to do a bunch of repair work to it. Luckily, I already had the special screws for particle board or MDF, so I was able to just drill some holes and use these special screws and kind of bolt everything together. Luckily, I didn't have to glue anything to make it stick together, so it's actually more solid now than it was when I first got it. So kind of happy I was forced into doing this. And now I know better how everything comes apart and goes together. So I don't suspect I'll want to move this desk again, though. The quality is just not there. But the desk is doing the job I need it to do for the moment. So I'm content with that. So I've got, of course, my office is unpacked, as you can see, because I'm making a video. So we've pretty much got everything unpacked. There's some pictures left to hang, and I've got to get some material so I can make some picture frames for some loose pictures and stuff I want to put up. And I've found some of my old certificates and stuff that I've lost the frames for over time. I don't know how or why, but so I've still got, a few little odds and ends to do, but it's pretty much done. And as you can see, there's no open shelving with a bunch of junk on them anymore. Everything's in storage rooms behind closed doors. I've got a bookcase with some books, which was kind of unusual for a bookcase in our house at our last location. So pretty much everything's all set up, ready to go. Everything is definitely a lot neater underneath the desk this time around. I'm not catching my feet on any wires. So I'll give you a full studio tour on my other channel if you're interested in taking a look at that. But you'll see some different angles over time as I experiment with different ways of shooting stuff in here. And we've got a much nicer kitchen set up for shooting the cooking videos. So I don't have anything specifically planned for upcoming videos. I've got a couple ideas that I'm kind of working on, but right now I'm just trying to get caught up on a bunch of work I got behind on. Other than this vlog, there's probably not going to be too much for new videos coming out in the next few days, but hopefully I'll start having some stuff for you guys next week. One thing that I kind of want to talk about that became an issue during this move, we had a couple of weeks beforehand trying to get stuff packed up and, change of addresses stuff done, and we were dealing with new bank accounts and all kinds of stuff. And I got really stressed. One thing that I've noticed is that when I get stressed, it tends to trigger some of my autoimmune things. And that's happened in this case. I started getting eczema on my elbow. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera. It's almost healed up again, but I had a couple patches that were getting really bad, and my skin was getting bad, and I was starting to get swelling and pain in my joints, and I wasn't eating anything that I shouldn't be eating. It was just the overall stress was kind of triggering everything. During this period of time, I also went off of OMAD, switched to TMAD, or 2 meals a day. My body was just craving that extra food, I think probably to heal. Now, the last video that I did, I talked about how I'd gained just a few pounds. Well, I haven't gained any more. I'm just kind of hovering there, right around the 330 mark. I think this morning I was down a pound or something. But a lot of the stress is gone. Now that the move is done and we've pretty much got everything going. We got the internet hooked up again here a couple of days ago. That was a big ordeal of its own, which I'm not going to get into here. So even though I've switched to the 2 meals a day for the time being, I'm just listening to my body. I did a lot of damage to my back and a lot of muscle strain. I pulled a muscle in my back, that kind of a thing. So that all is going to take a little time to heal. So my body's demanding the extra food. So once that kind of fades back and I'm not getting hungry, but in early afternoon anymore, I'll know that the healing's probably caught up a bit. Talk a little bit about my thyroid. So the stress did affect my thyroid function a little bit. I could tell by some of the other symptoms. The diarrhea got really bad again for about a week and a half while I was really stressed. And that's started to get better again. I also got the new supplement that I've been waiting for. That's the NAC with selenium. Now, this was a little difficult for me to get because the stuff that was available locally in our health food store had a bunch of fillers that I'm allergic to. So just once again, I want to give a shout out to Natalie Spencer. She's been an invaluable resource in finding some more ingredients to add to my thyroid treatment program and finding me sources to get them from that don't have all these fillers and stuff. So big shout out to her, and also a shout out to Christina Mathewson. She's a naturopathic doctor from Australia. She's also been helpful. She's given me some more information and some more supplements that I can add if the NAC with selenium isn't enough. I don't want to just throw a bunch of stuff at it. I want to add a couple things at a time so that I can nail down exactly what's helping, how long it takes, how much help it is, what combinations are working together, kind of using myself as a little bit of experimentation to kind of refine this formula that I can use, because eventually I'm going to want to start growing my own ingredients so that I can make it myself, so that I'm not dependent on any type of supply chain. That's kind of the ultimate goal of any of the treatments that I'm using. And I've gotten also some good advice from some other people in my life. Don't want to identify them publicly, but they know who they are, so they've given me some good advice. I'm going to be making some changes to the type of iodine I take, and that kind of thing. And of course, I'll keep you posted on how all this goes. I've been taking the NAC with selenium for a few days now, so I'm going to give that another probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll go get my blood tests, and we'll see how my thyroid's doing, especially my TSH, and we'll see how that's coming out, and I'll let you know how that goes. So I just want to thank everybody for hanging in there with me and having a little patience while we do this move. It was a much needed move. We needed to get into a more suitable place where we just didn't feel like we were surrounded by junk all the time. So this new place, it's got a much different vibe. The building, it's much friendlier building, really nice people here. A lot of the ambient sounds that we always had to deal with, the trains in the middle of the night, that kind of thing, we don't hear over here where we're at now. Once in a while, we'll hear the helicopters come in to the nearby hospital, but that's really in a little bit of traffic noise at certain times of the day, but that all goes away if we close the windows, so that's fine. And the building itself, it's quieter and just a much nicer vibe all the way around. I know I'm sleeping better, although to be honest, that may not just be the building. After the day of the big move, my back got so bad after spending a truly miserable night, no sleep, so much pain. The next day I finally broke down and went out and grabbed some cannabis, and been using that for a few days just to deal with the pain and get the inflammation down and that type of thing. And it's probably helping me, even aside from dealing with the pain. It's probably helping my sleep patterns a bit too. But definitely been getting a lot better rested up and healing up faster than I normally would. Probably still got a few days before my back's going to be kind of back on an even keel, but I'm anticipating with the results of all the muscle strain and that, once that all heals up, my back should be a lot stronger than it was before this whole move situation. And I'm hoping that's going to be well enough that I can start going to the gym. I've had a membership for a while, but been having so much problems with my back, just haven't been able to really make use of it. So I'm hoping that that's going to change here and that I can kind of restart my weight loss. Don't like being stuck. I know that part of that's due to the ongoing battle with my thyroid. And once that gets beat, I'll probably be able to be taken off the weight easier, but I still want to be strengthening my back and getting in better shape. So if you find value in our videos, it would really mean a lot to me and certainly help out the channel if you could take a moment and hit that like button and maybe subscribe and hit that notification bell so you make sure to catch the next videos as they come out. I really appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.